This is Conversations with the Citizen. I am your host, Tia Carol Jones. I am here today with Margaret Murphy-Webb. Margaret is a musician and a community activist. She is also the co-founder and executive director of the Southside Jazz Coalition. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am, I'll start at the beginning, a mother, grandmother, wife. I'm a retired Chicago police officer. I did 22 years of service. I'm a retired teacher. I taught after I left the police department. And now my life is, I'm a dog owner. I have to shout out to my two dogs,
Okay.
Oreo and Sadie. Hey, anyway, I'm married to a musician, Chuck Webb, who's a bassist, who's now doing theatrical designing. He's a theater musician. And music is my life. My life now is the Southside Jazz Coalition.
Okay. How did you get into music?
Well, my dad had a record shop,
Okay.
and we all worked at the record shop. Of course, church. My mother had my sister and I sing in church, and then when I was about 6, I think I started working at the record shop, and I was spinning records for people because we had to speak around. I grew up on the West Side,
Okay.
so Madison Street between Western and Levitt, there were a whole string of African American businesses
Okay.
that were burned down when Martin Luther King was killed.
Oh.
And my dad's business was one of those businesses, and we would just play music and just chill out there.
Okay. Okay. What is it about jazz that you love so much? It could be any genre of music, actually.
Well, I love all music because Stevie Wonder, to me, is a consummate everything
Yes.
when it comes to music, composer, singer. But jazz, there's something about the freedom of jazz. There's something about being able to create while you're doing the song.
Okay.
That every person that is in that ensemble has the ability to, even though you're staying in that certain key, but you can go outside the rim, and it all comes together as this beautiful composition.
Okay. Why was the Southside Jazz Coalition founded?
There's a need. I grew up in the 70s musically. I would go and attend the jam sessions of Von Freeman every Tuesday night for 40 years.
Okay.
Von Freeman had jam sessions where musicians came from not just from Chicago, but all over the city, all over the world. I looked up one day, Betty Carter was sitting there. Sun Ra was there. Anybody that came into town that was a jazz musician usually ended up at the new apartment.
Okay.
And when he passed away, before he passed away, he told me, you have to carry the torch when he became ill. He's the person that taught me everything I know about jazz. I grew up at that jam session. And all of those clubs that we had back in the day are gone. There were clubs all up and down 75th Street, on 63rd Street. We had the Sutherland, we had the Regal was up. Just so many clubs. Those clubs are gone now. We don't have a venue for live music dedicated to live music on the South Side. We have a few venues that every once in a while they may have some music, but we don't have anything that's dedicated to live music on the South Side. So Southside Jazz Coalition was first brought about to bring back the South Shore Jazz Festival, if you guys remember that.
Okay.
Geraldine DeHaas, that was her brainchild. She became ill and she stopped. And I met with some other musicians. I said, let's start something. And let's bring back the the South Shore Jazz Festival. But that undertaking with no money, nobody knowing, everybody knew me as a singer. Not knowing anyone, not knowing the political connections or sponsors, it turned out to be daunting. So I sat down and I thought about it. I said, I'm going to start small, and then I'm going to build up to it. But even starting small, the last 6 years, as I've gotten bigger, there's been more need for more venues. We do a lot of pop-up jazz venues.
Okay.
We do, in the summer, we do Jazzin on the Steps. I hope you guys come monthly. The city called me and asked me to be on the Arts Council. So I'm on the Cultural Arts Council for the city.
Okay.
Then I was the co-chair for Chicago Music. So that gave me a doorway to bring even more programs to different neighborhoods. We do block parties now. We'll do pop-up jazz on the block. COVID hit, so everything was outside. So my thought was, let me bring something out that will bring people out of their houses. You can stay on your porch, but we can do some jazz on the porch. So it started off as one idea and it's turned to a monster of something else.
And so you kind of touched on it a little bit, but how does the Southside Jazz Coalition fill the void that was left by the South Shore Jazz Festival?
We're trying to fill the void with just making it more neighborhood. People are staying close to home because of the pandemic.
Okay.
So what we've done is we've brought jazz to you. We bring live music to you. I hired not just jazz musicians last year, but also hired R&B musicians. I even had a tap dancer go on one block, and hip-hop artists.
Okay.
So we just want to bring something to the people. But now with the pandemic not subsiding, but changing the way we look at things, we're going to probably go back inside, but I'm also going to keep those outside programs because they're so well attended. My Jazzin on the Steps, I had 400 people come out in August. They call it now the Southside Ravinia because we have food trucks and people are eating. So I haven't completely filled the void of that festival. I am working with Chicago State to have a one-day, we're going to start small, a one-day jazz festival at Chicago State this year. And then hopefully, along with our other programs, I don't ever want the other programs to stop. It's all about money. We can do a festival and we can have those neighborhood programs. We need the neighborhood programs.
And that kind of leads me into my next question.
Yes.
Why is there such a void when it comes to live cultural events on the South Side?
Investment. It's all about investments. It's about, and I'm going to say it, getting your local politicians involved. It hurts. It tears me up. I lived in Rogers Park for 22 years, for 20 years. The way that alderman stepped in and made sure that there were things like this in his ward that I don't see on the South Side. I'm not going to say my alderman's name, but I did approach my alderman 3 or 4 years ago. Every year, I have the money. If you can just give me a spot, I want to do things. I want to do this. And he said, no, my streets and sands man, it'll do it, or just brush me off. There was a program last year called Chicago Presents. The city was giving money to anybody who had a yard. If you had a block club, if you had anything, the city would give you $2,000 to $3,000. So you could present something on your block just to have something in the neighborhood. And our local alderman didn't want anything to do with it. But yet, on the north side, downtown, all of these Chicago Presents programs were going on. Mm-hmm. So that's what I feel like that's what we have to do. We have to be arts agitators in our own wards to make people know that this is what we want. We got to have this. We have to make investors come into our wards. We don't have these venues because we don't ask for them. We don't press for them. We don't beg for them. It's like we don't have sit-down restaurants. We don't say to our aldermen, you know what, do not put a beauty supply there. There's a person that has an application. They want to put a restaurant there. Why do we have another beauty supply? Why do we have another dollar store? We want to have the same access where you can walk to a coffee shop, where you can walk to a restaurant, the way that they do on the north side, near north, far north, Evanston. We want to get the same things they want, that they have.
How does the Southside Jazz Coalition work with other community organizations to create cultural events?
Well, it's funny you asked me that question, Tia. I have a partner, Global Girls, Marvinetta Penn.
Oh, okay.
And Marvinetta and I were talking about what we can do to try to get more people involved because people are power. The more folks you have, the more resources you have, the more venues you have, the more outreach you have. So we started the Southside Arts Collaborative. So we just started that last year. So what we're doing is we're inviting other arts organizations to partner with us. That way we can reach more people and we can make our voices heard better. So listen out for the Southside Arts Collaborative because that will be Southside arts organizations coming together to bring more events.
Okay, looking forward to that. In what ways did the organization have to pivot during COVID-19? You talked about having some of the outdoor events.
That's exactly what we did. We were inside. We were at St. Columbane's, which is now St. Moses the Black. We were there once a month, and then we were doing awards programs inside. We were trying to give awards to Southside music legends. And then COVID hit, bam. So the thing to do was just to go outside. We went online, and a couple of our programs were online, but I think the most popular programs are the ones outside. We just did a program last weekend, Bruce Henry, that we streamed live from Global Girls.
Okay.
So we did pretty much what everybody else did. We just went to the internet. But I'm noticing that people are tired of that now, because when we first started, we would have 100, 150 people watching. I think we had 30 people watching. People are tired of looking at the computer. So, you know, it's time to have live performances again.
Yes, yes, it is. What events are coming up for Southside Jazz Coalition?
Well, in March, we're going to be at Harris Park. I'm going over there when I leave here to get the date fixed in. We are doing a Southside Legacy series. It's very important to me that the legacy of the music of the Southside be kept, that our history be kept for our kids. So we're going to do, this will be our second one.
Okay.
It's Women's History Month next month.
Mhm.
So we're going to be featuring the songbirds. So Sasha Dalton and Charlotte Foster were two of the ladies that were really into jazz back in the 60s, 70s. Sasha, of course, did Sasha Sings Dinah. She took that all over the world. Charlotte Foster was one of the women who was kind of a pioneer on the South Side, with taking her band into all the clubs on the South Side. So they're going to talk about what they did as artists back then. And then we're going to bring in a young woman to, younger woman to be featured who will perform. So that's what's coming up next. And of course in May, we'll be doing our Jazzin on the Steps. That'll be our first one. We'll be doing that monthly. Then we'll be doing our pop-ups, our neighborhood stuff. We'll be at Navy Pier this year. They called us last year and asked us to join them. So we'll be doing a couple of nights there. We got a couple of nights coming up at Millennium Park. We have a lot of stuff that's coming up already. It seems like the summer is filling up very quickly, and it's just February.
Where can people go to find out more about Southside Jazz Coalition?
www.southsidejazzcoalition.org. And I've been really bad at keeping the website up to date, so that's what I'm going to start doing. I'm going to get someone to do that for me, because you know it's very hard, but I need to start putting all these events on there so people can find out. So just go to our website. It'll be on the website, and or you could just call the number 773-888-6709, and somebody will call you back.
Okay, great. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience?
I just want people to know what I need for my free events. All I need is for you to support. If I can show the numbers and show the city that this is what we want, that people want this, they will come out for this, that talk to your local politicians, tell them that you want festivals in your neighborhood. I was told by one alderman's staff person that Black people don't want this on 87th Street. I tried to do an 87th Street festival, and I was told by the alderman of that, not the alderman, her staff person, Black people do not want 87th Street closed for one block. I want to close one block to have an all-day jazz festival. Not even all day, from 11 to 6. Food trucks. I told the businesses, I said, you can have sidewalk sales. I went to all the businesses first. And I was told point blank, no, because they don't want that closed, because our people don't want to have to drive around that. So what I need people to do is you tell your local politician, I would like to have a festival on 87th Street. Why can't we close a block on 87th Street for one day? That's what they do on the north side. That's what they do downtown. You can have a pop-up festival anywhere, but for certain streets, you have to have your politician. So all I need is for people to support. If you see me trying to do something, call, I don't want to say a name, call your alderman or call their staff person and say, hey, why is it we can't have this thing? I was told that right now the initiative is about violence. One way to reduce violence is to take back your streets. You see that we're out here. We're not hiding in our homes, afraid of you. Another way to reduce violence, introduce your children to the arts. Mm-hmm. Let your children know you can pick up a saxophone instead of picking up a gun. So That's my pulpit. Let me get off of it.
Thank you so much for being here and speaking with us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Remember to make plans to join us again next week for Conversations with the Citizen, the place where real news can be heard.